Adriene tends to see adults as punitive, withholding, and as a source of disappointment. Psychological Evaluation, December 1, 1992.
Hey there, my name is Sean, and this is Suicide Noted. On this podcast, I talk with suicide attempt survivors and ideators so that we can hear their stories. Every year around the world, many millions of people try to take their own lives, and we almost never talk about it. We certainly don't talk about it enough, and when we do talk about it, most of us, so many of us, we're not very good at it. We're just not very good at listening, or we don't have the time, or we don't have the space, or we're not sure what it means. And that's a problem. So one of my goals with this podcast is to have more conversations, and hopefully better conversations with survivors, in large part to help more people in more places hopefully feel a little less shitty and a little less alone. Now, if you are an attempt survivor or ideator and you'd like to talk, please reach out. It's real simple. hello@suicidenoted.com. I'd love to talk with you. As you may know, I am still on tour. We just finished our 11th event in Colorado Springs, where I still am in a hotel. Lovely view, lovely mountains, absolutely beautiful. We have got several more stops, and I will be finishing in Arizona, so I will keep you up to date on all of that stuff. If you'd like to help out with the tour or some of our other projects with a tax-deductible donation, yes, givebutter.com/suicide noted. You'll find that link everywhere. The show notes, the podcast description, the website, elsewhere. And a really big thanks to our members. We still have a membership, so you know who you are. Thanks for your ongoing support. And recent donors. And they include Deanna, Robert, Shannon, Lane, Janine, Mark, Courtney, another Mark, Burgett, Edward, Allison, Elise, Nicole, Nancy, Pamela, Caroline, Jordan, Nicholas, Sarah, David, Shweta, Risa, my sister, and Sean. No, not me. Another Sean. Good name. Really appreciate your help. Thanks very much. Of course, there are all kinds of other ways you can support, and you're doing one of them right now by listening to this episode. So thank you. Now, finally, we are talking about suicide on this podcast like we do every week, sometimes twice a week. Exactly as the name suggests, my guests and I do not hold back, not typically, so please take that into account before you listen or as you listen. But I do hope you listen because there is so much to learn. Today, I am talking with Adriene. Adriene lives in Texas, and she is a suicide attempt survivor. Adriene, Texas. Hi. I'm actually not home. I'm in Mexico, and I don't have my special light, so I look 14 years older right now. It pisses me off.
But at least you're not 14 years older.
Good point. Adriene, who are you?
My name is Adriene Caldwell. I am the author of the book Unbroken: Life Outside the Lines. It is the story of my life from early childhood to mid-20s. During this time, I was either the witness to or the victim of the sexual assault of a young girl, the drowning death of another child, emotional and physical abuse, extreme poverty, mental illness, homelessness, horrifically abusive foster care, bulimia, drug and alcohol addiction, pedophilia, death, incest, and suicide.
Oh, we got a lot to cover.
Yeah.
Given what you shared, including suicide, I wonder this, and then we will get into the Adriene story in detail. You have been on several podcasts. You will be on several more. And this is just a reflection or a curiosity, a question around suicide, because we group it in with like mental health. And in my experience, no. Of course, there's overlap. We'll talk about mental health. We're getting better at talking about mental illness. And even some of the things that you've brought up, we don't talk about suicide. So my question, I'm curious, I don't need names, I don't need titles, my ego is not involved in this at all. Out of the conversations you've had for podcasts, so we could extend it further, do they go there?
No. In previous podcasts, I've asked the host to select one or two topics, and then I would cover those topics. But no, suicide is not discussed. It is, however, the prologue for my book. It's my very last suicide attempt. Honestly, I don't know how many times I've attempted suicide. I wouldn't be here if I wasn't ready to share.
And I bet that wasn't always.
No, absolutely not. A lot of compartmentalization, a lot of repressing,
Give me the one or two sentence version because I know we're going to get into it more later. Why did you write the book?
So I was a ward of the state of Texas from the age of 13 to 18. And about 2 years after I got out of Children's Protective Services, after I aged out, I asked for my case files from CPS. And they sent them this massive box, two giant stacks of papers, everything that was ever written about me. And it took me over 20 years to be able to open the box and to start going through it. I was so angry with the foster parent. In fact, in my book, I don't even name her. She doesn't deserve a name. Her title is The Bitch from Hell. TBFH. She's almost non-human to me, what
Mhm.
she did to us. I have survived what I did not think was possible to survive. By all rights, I should be dead many
Yeah.
times over.
I know you said you can't count. I think I might be paraphrasing. You can't how many times you've tried.
That's correct.
Are there specific, let's call them bigger, larger attempts that you can count?
Sure. My very first one wasn't a danger to my life, but it was the first time that I had suicidal ideation. I was 15 years old,
Okay.
in foster care with TBFH. When I had a psychiatric eval done at 13. And at that time, I was diagnosed with a few things, dysthymia. So basically the early version of MDD, major depressive disorder. I had gone to the psychiatrist and he prescribed me medication. And I came home to TBFH's house. I took my razor apart in the bathroom and I started cutting at my wrists. I did that because I thought that I was damaged. I was defective. I was no longer valid. I had basically given up on myself. Nobody told me that when you go through trauma, your brain stops making the happy chemicals. The medication is a supplement for something your brain isn't doing. And now I compare it to a diabetic who needs to take insulin. That was my first attempt. And TBFH, she
Mhm.
actually criticized me.
So
That's the environment that I was in, where I was ridiculed because I didn't attempt suicide correctly.
yeah, let's just say I sometimes have rather strong statements. I do my best to be objective, but sometimes it comes out. Note to anybody who's listening, most people who are listening, they get it and they're not this kind of person. If you are dealing with somebody who tried to end their lives and you want to increase the chances of them killing themselves, just do what that woman did. That's exactly how that works. Tell them they're wrong, tell them they're this, tell them they're that. Let's see. I don't have data. I'm going 80% higher. Someone can sue me if I'm wrong, especially when you're 15, especially when you're in foster care.
Mhm.
Let's just add that to it all. Why were you in foster care in the first place?
My mother was schizophrenic and physically abusive. The last beating I took from her, do you know what a wooden dowel rod is? The thing you hang your clothes on in the closet, that wooden rod? That was the last beating I took from my mother. It was brutal.
Mhm.
Down on the ground, covering my head, and I had bruises all up and down my arm from where she was aiming at my head. And had my arms not been there, it would have been head contact.
Schizophrenia.
Schizophrenia,
Violent, single or married?
never married. Schizophrenia runs in my family. My grandfather was schizophrenic. He was sexually abusive with my mother.
Sure.
So when she was sexually assaulted by her father, I believe that began the trigger. My grandmother was around and ran interference between my mother and me. My grandmother protected me until she died when I was 7. And we lived off and on with, I had 2 sets of aunts and uncles, but they were trying to help keep my mother from beating me. I mean, I
Mhm.
had taken beatings from dog leashes, hangers, wire hangers, shoes, books, what have you. She didn't want their input anymore, so she went to social services, said, "What do we have to do to get government housing?" to get a government apartment, you basically have to be homeless because if you're living with family, you don't have the same urgency. So we spent summer after fourth grade in the Salvation Army downtown Houston homeless shelter. And then we were placed in government housing, Haverstock Hill Apartments. If you're ever bored, just Google it. You'll see the reviews, the drug dealers and
What are the reviews on Yelp?
yes, absolutely. Yelp, Google, they absolutely review it. And they say if you mind your business, don't pay attention to the drug deals or any of the other stuff, you'll be fine. And so we were literally the only white family in the entire complex. It gave my mother the freedom that she wanted. She didn't have the oversight anymore from anyone. My family, my two aunts and uncles, out of sight, out of mind. They were busy with their own lives, trying to raise their own kids. And my mother had free reign. I started fantasizing about killing my mother when I was in the fifth grade.
I was about to ask you a question that I was going to ask, but I always have to qualify it because I don't want people to think I've lost my mind. And that's exactly the question. Did you want, and I'm trying to just get into the human experience here. And when you go through some hard shit, you sometimes think about killing people.
Yes. The routine was after a beating, go take a shower. And I would close the toilet lid, stand on it because we didn't have a full length mirror. I'd inspect the bruises, the welts, the red marks. And then I would go into the shower and I would just cry and I would ask God, why me? I would thank God for giving me only one parent. I had no idea how kids with two parents survived.
You just assume they were both evil.
Yes, absolutely. I was like, holy shit, if this is what I have to go through with one parent, thank you, God, for not giving me two. It didn't occur to me that a parent might be a good thing. To me, she was
Right.
something that I had to manipulate, extort, control. At this point, I had a 4-year-old baby brother who other than when I was at school, I was his mother.
One of the words that comes to mind, and I'm no psychologist, that's probably a huge shock to you, but such a big word comes to mind as you're sharing all of that is what an absolutely unsafe space for a kid to be around. 24/7. And what does that do? And we're not getting psychobabbly here. You can share whatever you want. What the hell does that do to a kid's head? Brain, mind, soul.
Oh, certainly. When I was 5, my little girlfriend from the apartment complex, we were playing in a field with a dog and a man with the owner of the dog. And we ended up going into the woods. The man was holding her hand and leading. I was holding my little boyfriend's hand. I stopped. We came to 2 large rocks that we had to step over to keep going. And I just turned and I ran back to my apartment. And I said, Janie's in the woods with Mr. Montgomery. And my uncle just thundered out and came back in, and just her crumpled, just almost lifeless body was in his arms. He didn't expect me to still be in the living room. So that was the first time I realized little girls are not safe in this world. The second time, when I was 7, I also witnessed a drowning. It was a summer Houston. We were living with an aunt and an uncle. Houston is like the armpit of Texas. The humidity, it's brutal. So everyone was in the pool. You couldn't go 3 feet without bumping into another person. In my family, they still believe that wives' tale. You have to wait 30 minutes after eating before you can go back in the water. So I was sitting on a lounger and I noticed this girl floating face down, her hair splayed out around her. And my other uncle noticed at the same time, and he ran and he got her and pulled her from the water and tried CPR and mouth to mouth, but she was gone. So I learned at a very young age that little girls are not safe in this world.
So you go 13 to 18, you're in foster care.
I did receive a congressional scholarship to do a 1-year foreign exchange in Germany. It was my junior year of high school. That was really my new beginning, my awakening.
Yeah.
I lost 30 pounds. I got contacts. I got a pixie cut and dyed my hair platinum blonde. I got a nose ring. As horrific as TBFH was, that's how good my host family was. They trusted me. They treated me with respect. To this day, I send my host mom flowers for Christmas.
Oh, by the way, we should remind the audience, TBFH, the bitch from hell moving forward. If you want to know what TBFH means, Adrienne, that's what Adrienne is talking about. It sounds like the opposite of your mother or host family in Germany.
Yes, yes. But my first suicidal ideation was when the psychiatrist said that I needed to be on medication, and I felt so broken.
Before or after Germany?
That was before.
Right, because I was doing the ages. It was about 15. You're in the foster home. You get this diagnosis, pretty intense. And what was it? Was it the diagnosis or was it the idea that you'd have to be on meds? I know that sounds weird, but meds can be really hard for people.
I saw myself as defective, not salvageable. I have scars from it, but it didn't endanger my life. There were so many more attempts that actually did endanger my life, but that wasn't one of them. That was like my foray into suicide attempts. Sure.
That day when you did try with the blade and you quote did it wrong, I asked questions about trying to understand what it's like to want to die. Was there a reason? And I know we're going back a few years. Do you know why it was that day? Because it could have been the day before or the day after. Why then?
Because that was the day I got the diagnosis that I was inadequate, that I was inferior, that I wasn't deserving.
Doesn't take much time, matter of minutes or hours. You're in the bathroom, you get the blade.
Correct. As I mentioned, I didn't know what I was doing, and
Yeah.
TBFH corrected me and taught me how to do it correctly, which I did utilize later. Yeah, razors multiple times, pills multiple times. My ultimate attempt was with a gun.
When you say TBFH showed me the right way to do it.
Mm-hmm. She was an absolute monster. Dehumanizing us was part of her strategy.
So you get out of foster care. Give me a little synopsis of that part of your life.
So, when you are a ward of the state of Texas, when you're 18, when you get out of their care, if you go to a public state university, they cover all tuition and fees. And despite the fact that tuition and fees are paid for, when I went, it was 20 years ago. Now they help with room and board, books, and they make it easy. I just knew that I was going to go to college. Now, my aunt and uncle that I was living with my senior year, so I came back from Germany. I turned 18. I was in the counselor's office. There was honors weekend that you could sign up for at Southwest Texas State. Like in 1979 or 77 or something, it was named on Playboy's top 20 or top 25 party schools. I had no idea how much that stigma was going to impact the viability of my degree. I graduated in technically 3.5 years. I had one long distance course. That's the half year. I walked in August of '01 with an international business, minors in business administration in German, and 9/11 happened and there were no jobs.
Not ideal. By the way, several years go by since that attempt.
Mm-hmm.
How often are you ideating?
So in college, not really. It was once I got out of college and I was flailing. I didn't have a path. I couldn't get a job. The hopelessness really didn't come until after I graduated college and I could not find myself. I couldn't get stabilized. I was having health issues. In college, I was a stripper. I really started feeling hopeless when I was working retail about 6 months after I graduated. I went back to college, spoke with my history professor. She got her PhD from Harvard, and she said I'd make a really great lawyer. So I studied for the LSATs. The only school that was still accepting applications was Texas Tech. So I flew my application up there and I was admitted, but it was in Lubbock, Texas. My third day, I was crying in my margarita because I was an alcoholic by then. I came back to my aunt's. That's when I started really manipulating men.
As you're, in your words, manipulating men, are you also registered in law school?
No, I left after 3 days and I wanted to get out of my aunt's house as soon as possible. So I met a guy at the strip club, moved in with him, met another guy at the strip club, upgraded.
Hey,
I will say this, I was not a good person the first half of my life. And I have spent the second half of my life trying to be a good person, trying to make up for it.
when you say you weren't a good person, what do you mean?
Well, manipulating and exploiting men for my own advantage, drinking alcohol, cheating, just making very poor decisions, very self-centered, didn't really care about anyone else or anything other than me and how it was going to impact me. Very, very self-centered.
There's another word that comes to my mind, and you may not agree, and listeners might not agree.
Narcissistic.
No, actually, not at all. And that might be a pie. No, it's survival.
Ah, yes, you're right.
While you're doing that, are you thinking about attempting? Was there another attempt? Tell me about that.
Oh, absolutely. I got a hold of a girlfriend's razor. I cut along the lines. Ambulance was called. They weren't deep enough. The cuttings were actually the least scary attempts. Prozac and alcohol do not mix. I would go into a full on blackout functional drunk. I could talk, I could converse. The other person didn't know, but I was functioning. It's like the lights are on in the house, but the recorder is not going. So I had absolutely no memory. And one of my suicide attempts, I was in my car driving, obviously very bad decision making. I woke up the next day in the hospital, in a hospital gown, in a hospital bed. And my Aunt Rose is standing in the doorway and she says, Adriene, you tried to kill yourself. You overdosed last night. And I looked at her and I swore. I said, Aunt Rose, no, I didn't. I did not take any pills. The doctor walks in and he says, is this your mother? And I say, yes, this is my mother. And then later on, I call her Aunt Rose. Doctor's very confused. She raised me. I say, God didn't give me a mother and a father. He gave me two mothers. So she was in the room and they showed me the toxicology report. During my blackout, drunk, non-functioning, well, I guess I was functioning, just not recording, I tried to kill myself. I was so desperate to get out of the pain that I was suffering that on a blackout, drunk bender, I swallowed a bottle of Xanax. And I didn't even believe it, even after the toxicology report. It wasn't until I got back in my car. People don't realize this about suicide attempts, but your body will try to save you. And I had regurgitated the Xanax and it was all over my dashboard. And I was like, holy shit. So that's how badly I wanted to die. That even in a stupor, blackout, drunk phase, I still tried to kill myself. And I think that speaks volumes for where
Yeah,
I was at and what was going on with me.
that was big attempt number two.
No, there had been another razor attempt before that. After that, another attempt I didn't really think was a big deal, but I didn't realize it at the time. So I was living with a guy I had upgraded to, and I grabbed a bottle of Tylenol from the medicine cabinet, took my clothes off. I was getting in the bathtub. I downed, over half the bottle of Tylenol. The guy I was with called 911. That was the second time that I had my stomach pumped.
You went to hospitals to get your stomach pumped or charcoal just to get you okay. In that entire time, though, do they send you to another kind of hospital? Because Adriene's clearly not okay.
I was sent to a psych ward. I've been hospitalized in a psych ward twice. I'm not sure the first time if it was the Tylenol overdose or if it was the Xanax overdose. The second hospitalization came after my last suicide attempt.
What was the experience like in the psych unit? Probably a little fuzzy and hard to remember, but what was that like? Because, I talked to some people where they say it was what I needed, and I also talked to a lot of people that are like it was a fucking nightmare.
I don't mean this to brag, but to understand my situation, you have to understand that I'm a highly intelligent person and also incredibly manipulative. The first time that I went into the psych hospital, I was discussing my life and, my progress. I had graduated college and da, 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 da. At the end of the interview, the psychiatrist asked, he said, "What are you here for?" It wasn't the pills. It was my very last suicide attempt. And that's when I told him that I put a gun to my temple and I pulled the trigger twice.
When was that?
Early 20s, probably 23, 24. But I had taken the gun from my uncle's house without his permission. I had my little cousin get me the gun from his father's closet. Huge guilt on my part for putting him through that. My Aunt Rose, my second mother, she's the one that knew I had the gun. I actually had the gun. I drove up and down the Houston highways, knocked back a 6-pack, found an empty field off the highway, fired a test shot. So I knew for a fact the gun worked.
Hang on. When you shoot a test shot, it still goes somewhere, doesn't it?
It was a huge open field. And then I get back in my car and I kind of panic and I disassemble the gun and I put it in the passenger seat. I drive back to my apartment complex. I'm sitting in the driver's seat. I reassemble the gun. I put it to my temple. I pull the trigger and all I hear is click, and I pull the trigger again. Click. I lower it and I look and I see that the safety is engaged by less than a millimeter. The breadth of a hair, a single hair strand. That's how much the safety had engaged. So my aunt called, I answered, I came up to her beauty shop and I had made her promise not to call the police. Which when I got there, I was swarmed. There were 4 or 5 constable cars. They asked about the gun. They arrested me. They put me in a psych hospital.
Hold up.
Okay.
Arrested you for what?
Oh, attempting to harm myself.
That's not a felony. That's not a crime.
No, but they arrested me and took me to a psych hospital.
Basically, what they're saying is they took you.
Yes. And because I had taken the gun without permission, so technically theft, my uncle said that if I did not get help, he was going to press charges. And legally, he had 2 years to press charges. And he did not need to. I did seek help. It wasn't all rainbows and butterflies. I was hospitalized. I did intensive outpatient therapy. When I was in foster care, I was in something called therapeutic foster care. I had a counselor every 2 weeks. So the regular talk therapy it doesn't do much for me. That was my final attempt. I felt an intercession. There was more to it than just the safety being engaged by just a fraction of a millimeter. It was an intervention.
We're talking about God now.
Yes. It's not something I go into great detail with. My faith is very personal to me. I don't like to alienate people with faith.
There was a reason that day you got that gun. I want to know why you chose a gun and not another method. And I also am curious to know if you wanted to die, why you didn't try to pull the trigger in the field.
The field was a test shot. I wanted to make sure that the gun worked. When I got back in my car, I kind of panicked and I disassembled the gun. So it wasn't until I got back to the parking lot for the apartment complex, I had the courage again. And I was taken by the patrol car to the psych hospital, checked in, and that evening, I believe I had a premonition. And that was the last time I ever attempted suicide because I knew I would not be released from this earth until I had accomplished my purpose. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get like a memo on what that
Right,
purpose was.
you didn't get a facsimile?
No.
So it sounds like for like a good portion of the first half of your life, you either wanted to die or were thinking about dying. And the majority of the second half of your life, it's not that way. That's a big change, Adriene.
My daughter is what happened. I had her when I was 25, and it wasn't an immediate bond that I had with her. Some women have it. At first, when I first had her, I told her dad to just give her to your parents. I can't raise her. I'm not capable of this. I was just terrified. In one of my psych evals, it says Adriene states she is terrified to have children. She does not want that child to go through the same childhood that she went through. I was terrified. For me, it was almost 3 months to the day of her birth when I made the active decision that I was going to be the parent that I didn't have, that I was going to give her the childhood that I didn't have, that I was going to do my very best by her that I could. I call her my angel. She's really one of the reasons that I got my shit together and I kept my shit together.
She's a young woman now, right?
Yes, she's turning 20 in August.
Do you think she or your husband or perhaps other people in your life will ever hear this conversation when it comes out?
No,
Ooh, this is private. They're going to read the book, Adriene.
I don't know. And honestly, I don't know that I want my daughter to read it because I have done so many things that I am deeply ashamed of.
Yeah, that's a biggie for sure. Yeah, but well, if you're in Oprah's book club, she's going to read it. You think it was God that saved you in the car that day?
Yes. I went to my aunt's beauty shop. I felt completely betrayed by her because she had called the police after promising not to. And it really wasn't until I got to the psych ward and I found myself in a dark room all alone. I was laying on the ground. And that's when I had the epiphany. I had the vision. I had the realization that I was placed on this earth and I would not be allowed to go until my purpose was fulfilled. And that's what stopped all future suicide attempts because I know I won't be allowed to leave until I've served my purpose.
You still drink?
No.
Drugs?
Technically, yes, but I only do the drugs that have my name on them.
The ones the doc say you should take.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, are you boring?
I try to be. In fact, on my website, my current bio, it says boring is underrated.
Right.
And I believe that wholeheartedly. I don't want the excitement. I don't want the drama.
Sounds like you had a lot of it, enough of it.
I did. My life right now, if you would have shown the 13-year-old me the life that I have right now, the 13-year-old me would have called me a liar, would not believe.
What about the 21-year-old you?
Still no.
What about the 25-year-old you a few moments before you were laying on the hospital floor with the epiphany?
When I had my daughter, I got my shit together, started with a professional career. I ended up becoming a certified financial planner. I was a senior financial advisor for USAA. I was doing very well and had health issues that ended up taking me out of the workplace. I'm medically retired. So, and I keep getting into book number 2. So if I can do it, there is a book number 2. I think I have the material.
You can't completely not include huge chunks of your life because it might be in a book one day. You got to give us a little bit.
All right, you have a point.
What's the medical thing that stopped you from working?
I have a rheumatoid arthritis and a couple herniated discs. That's the physical.
I have no doubt with your belief and your faith that is in part probably healing. I also know you take medication.
Oh, yes.
I'm also wondering, particularly with trauma, have there been specific therapies, treatments, alternative or otherwise, that you have found effective or perhaps not effective?
So CBT doesn't work for me. And I'm going to say something that's going to sound very arrogant. I already know what they're going to say. And half the time I'm smarter than they are. So I don't do that. But what I am presently investigating is TMS. I'm also interested in EMDR. And the TMS, like I've done one round. It was actually at my med spa of all places. She offered me a free treatment. I was like, sure, I'll sign up. And I noticed that it made me like I was watching TV and I wasn't sad, but like tears were coming down my eyes. And I was like, what the hell's going on?
And of course, a lot of what you're sharing here is in your book.
My manuscript actually started off with an 81 page of this happened, this happened, this
Yeah, sure.
happened, this happened, this
Events,
happened.
events. Yeah.
Then just turning it into stories was incredibly hard.
2 follow-up questions about the psych unit. I want to understand when you're on that floor and you have that feeling, that life-changing feeling, because people will hear that and some people will roll their eyes, right?
Mhm.
But what does it feel like?
A serene peace just ensconced me. All of the fear, all the anxiety just faded away, and I felt nothing but peace and calm. I knew that it was a divine intercession.
I only get that from occasional drug use. Other thing probably sounds completely tangential, but because it's come up so much in the podcast, specifically use the word police against your will. How did they handle you physically when they took you from the beauty shop into the car and into the hospital?
One officer came around the passenger side. Where's the gun? I told him it's in the passenger seat. He got the gun. The other officer approached my window, hands up, get out, cuffed me, put me in the back of the patrol car. My aunt was saying, I'm doing this for your benefit, but I refused to look at her. I felt completely betrayed by her. They were not rough. My aunt has owned a beauty shop in the same location for about 40 years. She's cut the hair of judges and people like that. So if you actually were to look for any documentation, you won't find any.
That's the way the world works.
Yes. And when I asked about the gun, they said, what gun? And I said, the gun that I fired the test shot from. They said, oh, no, there were no shots fired from that gun. So I was protected. But my uncle gave me the ultimatum. He said, Adriene, you either get help or I am pressing charges against you for stealing the gun.
Do you think in a way that might have been a blessing?
Yes. It wasn't the therapy that I needed, but it was a start. My aunt and I ended up seeing a psychiatrist over 10 times trying to find a medication that would work for me. Oh, and nowadays, the psychiatrists don't accept insurance. That's why my whole looking into TMS, I have a very limited list of providers, and the 2 that I've gotten a hold of so far have wait lists. Not only are they doing an injustice, they are harming the people who need the most help. The people who need the most help can't afford to pay cash to see the psychiatrist. The psychiatrists have so much demand, they don't need to go through insurance at all. Most of them don't even bother to accept insurance. So that means the people who, it's amazing if they have insurance in the first place that covers mental health benefits, which I think there's been legislation around that, making sure that, coverage, the fact that the most needful population is being grossly underserved.
Oh, man. How long after, I believe my math is correct, that you got out of the hospital, or was it during the therapy that your daughter was born?
Oh, no. Therapy was age around 23.
Okay.
I went through some things and needed to get out of Houston. I needed to get away from the people I was hanging with. I needed to have a fresh start. I moved to Seattle, met my future husband. I was working as a nanny because I needed to bail. Yeah, the rest is history, really.
Wait, where do you live now?
I'm in Houston. I'm back in Houston. But from Houston, so I spent a year in Germany in high school, my junior year of high school, went to college, came back to Houston, went to Seattle. From Seattle, I went to Alaska. My job in Seattle, so I was a nanny at first, but then for the immigration forms, which to be clear, he was from the UK. He was over on vacation. We got married for a green card, not because I was knocked up. I was not knocked up, but I'm just saying she was a wedding present. We got pregnant with her during our wedding weekend.
That's
So,
awesome.
yes, it
I love
took
that you say
me.
knocked up. Language matters. You don't say got pregnant. You knocked up.
Well, I'm just clarifying, we,
Oh,
we got married for a green card, and I
yeah.
thought, it doesn't work out. We'll get divorced, no problem. And we had a wedding present. That's what I call her. She was our wedding present.
And you did get divorced.
We actually did get divorced, and then we got remarried about a year later.
How?
Then about a year after that, he passed away.
Would you have stayed married with him, you think?
I think so.
Mm.
I put my family back together and remember the wanting to give my daughter the childhood that I didn't have. So when I had the opportunity, like he hit rock bottom and said he was going to have to leave the state to go live with his best friend. And I couldn't do that to my daughter. I just couldn't do it. Her name is Abigail. I mean, it's Hebrew for father's joy. I could not let him abandon the family, and I had the chance to put us back together. It was very different the second time around. We had both grown significantly since our divorce, recognized, where we needed to improve. It really was a blessing. He had the best year of his life. I was getting sicker and sicker with my rheumatoid arthritis, but he was home. He worked like 7:30 to 5:30. He got up and made her steak and eggs almost every day for breakfast. And it was truly a blessing to have that year with him. And then he passed.
And then at some
I
point, your handsome, bald now husband.
Both of them were bald.
You know what I'm thinking right now? What would the bitch from hell think about Adriene right now, who seems to have been doing pretty damn good?
Adrienne is doing pretty damn good. The one thing I wish I could do, and I've tried, I wish I could forgive her. My mother was schizophrenic. She was sick. She didn't receive the help she needed. She didn't get the support from the family. My family doesn't even believe in mental illness. I went a decade without seeing my mother. After the last beating, I was 12 years old, and she was relinquishing her rights. They asked if I wanted to say goodbye to my mother, and I refused. A decade later, I found her, and we had a reconciliation. And then about 6 months later, she passed away. And
Mm,
I was the only one in the family that had that reconciliation with her.
mm, mm, mm,
So
mm.
I truly believe that things happen for a reason. I may not always understand the reason, but I believe that I've been called.
What are the diagnoses, if any, that you have right now that you think are accurate?
So when I was 13, first psychiatric evaluation done when I was entering foster care was the most accurate. First diagnosis was early onset reactive attachment disorder. I have an attachment disorder. I don't attach to people. And when you go to 13 schools before you graduate high school, you learn not to get attached. The abandonments between, my grandmother dying, my grandfather abandoning the family. At 13, I had dysthymia. I'm not sure I'm
Okay.
saying that correctly.
Nobody knows how to say it, Adriene.
Great. But it was the precursor for major depressive disorder, which I absolutely have. They noted obsessive compulsive tendencies. I used schoolwork. I excelled in the academic arena. And in fact, in my book, what I do is I take snippets from the psychiatric eval, and each chapter has a snippet,
Mm-hmm.
a quote from my psych eval that kind
Oh,
of
that's
ties
clever.
in with that chapter.
Was there a moment when you were crafting that book that idea came to you and you're like, oh my God, that's part of the structure, and it was just like the greatest fucking moment?
Yes.
Don't you love those moments when you're like, oh my
Yes.
God, this is how it's gonna be?
That's happened so many times with this book. I mean, the title was an evolution, the psych eval statements, even so this background for this, my brother had a collection of photographs of trees, winter trees, and lakes mirroring the trees. He gave me the rights to these photographs. And so now I'm using the quotes with those images and the link to my website to do my ads, my social content.
Nice. Any other diagnoses we didn't get to?
Serious anxiety, complex PTSD. In fact, for 20 years of my life, I was diagnosed as bipolar. My psychiatrist, who I've been with her since 2008, I love her. She said, "No, you're not bipolar. You have severe PTSD."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Oh my God." The light bulb went off and it all made sense.
Oh man, that must be such an incredible feeling.
Yes, an explanation for why I panic, why I have the anxiety. It gave me a lot of peace.
Wonder how many people, with the presumption that most medical professionals are well intentioned, but do you wonder the number of people who are misdiagnosed, especially with bipolar more than anything, maybe borderline too these days,
Mhm.
that are getting the wrong medication and it might even make it worse? And you're like, God damn, how many people did we lose in that space? Really? How many people in the world know that we are having this conversation right now?
Us,
How many people know about those attempts?
my Aunt Rose, I don't really discuss it a lot.
What percentage of the things in this book that will become, say the name again, please?
Unbroken life outside the lines.
When this book comes out in the fall and goes viral, let's manifest that shit. If your current awesome bald husband reads it, what percentage, más o menos, I say that because I'm in Mexico right now, would he be surprised by or just simply not have known?
He knows all the major stories, but there are littler things, interpretations, emotions, feelings, things that he may not be completely aware of. I've tried to be as open and transparent with him as possible. This book, you get to see a side of me that I don't show very often. I am very much a dominant, in control, confident female, and I don't do anything I don't want to do. Yeah. And I am blessed to live the life that I have now. Like I said, the 13-year-old me I would call me a liar.
I need to ask you to do something that I know you're not going to want to do.
Tell me.
I want to know the first line of your book.
The first line of my book. Okay, so chapter 1, family history, and then my psych quote is to see adults as punitive, withholding, and as a source of disappointment.
Mm.
Psychological evaluation, December 1, 1992. I didn't fall apart all at once. Like a loose thread on a sweater, I unraveled slowly but completely. Eventually, nothing was left of the sweater or me. To understand me, you must first understand my family. My grandmother Ellen was a child during the Great Depression, a fact that would shape the rest of her life. The youngest of 12, she was one hungry mouth among too many and was eventually given up for adoption to an upper middle class family. It would be decades before I learned that not only did my grandmother attend college and earn a diploma, which was almost unheard of for a young woman in the 1950s, she was also the salutatorian of her class. Let me read you one more thing.
Sure.
Unbroken, Life Outside the Lines is a poignant testament to the fragility and resilience of the human spirit. It lays bare the catastrophic unraveling of society's most fundamental safeguards, those structures meant to protect and uphold the well-being of its most vulnerable: children, the mentally ill, the elderly, and the disabled. This memoir is not just a narrative. It is a raw and unflinching gaze into the abyss of systemic failure and personal endurance.
Now, you got to do me a favor. And then I have a couple more questions. We're done. You add whatever else you want, okay? And I appreciate your time because you've been very patient and kind.
No, this is great.
Adriene, I have a gift for memoir titles. I don't know if your second book is technically a memoir or not. I'm gauging it kind of is.
It is.
One of the greatest gifts you could ever give me, a virtual stranger, is to include me in making that title for you. Please say yes, even if you don't.
I kind of already have the title.
God damn it, Adriene.
It's Unbroken, Falling Up.
Oh, you're going to go like unbroken again. Okay.
But what's your title? I'd love to
I don't
hear it.
know. No, wait, this is work. I'm not there yet. No, I think if you have a thing and an idea and it's clear and you like it and there's a connection between the two, that's a no-brainer for sure.
Question for a moment about God or the divine.
What do you think those powerful spirits do when someone kills themselves?
I don't believe the people who commit suicide go to hell. I don't believe that. I
Clear.
believe in a much more benevolent God. And I consider the Bible like a roadmap on how to live like a life with as few bumps and bruises as possible. If you kind of follow these guidelines, don't screw your neighbor's wife, don't steal, don't kill anybody, you just follow the major basic principles and you're going to be pretty okay. It's not going to be perfect. There're going to be trials, but you follow the basic roadmap and you'll be pretty much okay. That's kind of my take on it. It works for me.
Why am I the podcaster and I'm not wearing headphones and you're the guest and you are? Who's the rookie here? In your life right now, I realize that you don't ideate and you're not suicidal, but give me a little latitude with this, the conditional situation. If you were ideating, wherever you were on that, how many people do you have in your life that you can talk to and have that conversation? And by the end of that conversation, not feel worse and maybe feel better?
I have my Aunt Rose, my second mother.
Can we just shout out to Aunt Rose right now if she ever hears this? What's up, Aunt Rose? You did some good.
She did, and I was hell. I was pure hell. So I was a perfect child in high school. I never even went to a single party. But college, I just broke loose, and then after graduating, just fumbled around with life, and she got me through it. She wasn't always perfect. She did some things that hurt me, but for the most part, she kept me going. I have a best friend. I met him in 8th grade when I was first placed with TBFH, the bitch from hell. We are still friends. In fact, about a year and a half ago, we went to Cancun together, my husband and I, and he and his partner,
Woo.
and we celebrated our 35th friend anniversary.
Weird question, sensitive question. Understand if you don't want to go there. Abigail's her name, right?
Correct.
Some stuff runs in the family, genetics and otherwise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Complicated things. Life is hard. Should she come to you and ask, Mom, I'm really struggling. I've been having thoughts of suicide. Do you think you could have that conversation with her?
Absolutely. When she was 14, she came to me and explained that she was experiencing depression more than just sadness. Well, first, she's severely ADHD. Her dad, being from UK, they don't believe in ADHD. In first grade, when her peers were calling her stupid because she couldn't get her work done, I vetoed her father and took her and got her help, medication. And at 14, when she said she was struggling, that's when she went on her first antidepressant. So one of her ADHD, it's a non-stimulant, but it also helps with anxiety. I am very acutely aware that mental illness is in my family. My grandfather was schizophrenic. My mother was schizophrenic. My cousin is schizophrenic. I am watching my daughter for signs of schizophrenia because it manifests late teens, early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And there is usually some sort of trauma triggering event. And she lost her father when she was 10 years old. I do keep an eye on her and we talk and we're very open. And she even came back to me and told me, thank you. Thank you, Mom, for normalizing this. And because things like alcohol, her father was British. When she was 5 years old, she'd get a little glass of wine with that much water and very, very open, very, nothing was off limits. Okay, if you want to try pot, let's do it while we're together. That way, if you have a bad reaction, I can help you. I can take care of you. So I realize these are not very traditional or conservative views. I don't really fit very many molds.
when you said what you just said about sharing that and speaking with and listening and supporting your daughter, and I'm sure this has happened many times, but you gave one specific example of when she came back and she said, "Thanks, Mom." And I'm thinking about you, Adrienne, when you were 13, 15, 20, and what it sounded like your general self-concept, which we could say was rather low. What does it feel like to have a kid tell you thanks? You're a kid, I mean, obviously.
It was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It really was, especially because on her father's side, they believe that we just medicate our children because we can't handle them. Not supportive. And the depression is prevalent on even her father's side.
Yep.
Her grandfather, her grandmother. Like I said, my comparison to a diabetic. You know, a diabetic needs insulin, and you don't look down on a diabetic for a medical need. And when you have trauma, and my daughter did, you know, she lost her father at 10 years old. It was very sudden. If she needs help, I'm going to get her that help.
I have a name for that too.
Okay.
It's called mothering.
I've tried to give her the life that I didn't have.
Yeah.
And she's had some doozies. I mean, losing her father after we got divorced and we were apart for a year, we did come back together. We did put our family together, and they had the best year of their lives together. He most certainly did. And I am so grateful for that opportunity.
What is one or two things that just make you feel a little better?
The life that I live now is beyond a blessing. We are incredibly fortunate. We don't have financial concerns. I grew up very, very poor. That is no longer a concern. One little thing that makes me think this is nice. I don't really know. I love going to listen to live music. My husband and I, we dance. We have a great time. And we have a wonderful marriage.
We have covered a lot of things, and in those things, there's a variety of sort of myths or misconceptions that come up around suicide and mental health and mental illness and a lot of stuff, other stuff that you've gone through. Particularly if it hasn't come up, is there one or two myths that you would like to dispel and or we could say call bullshit on?
I don't, but the idea of the suicide is selfish, I mean, do people not understand how desperate you have to be to even resort to thinking about it? Apparently not. My husband's one of those people. He's had a normal life, like normal. He can't relate to the things that I've gone through, and it's through no fault of his own. No, I'd say those people don't know their ass from a hole in the wall.
Is that an expression?
I don't think so. I think I just made it up.
But language is cool because if I understand what you meant, then it still works. Almost sure I know your answer. A little unfair for me to say that before I ask it. But it is called the pink and purple pill question. You can take the pill. You can save the pill. There's no expiration date. You could throw it out somewhere. And what this pill does is it allows you to go to sleep very peacefully with no pain. You don't wake up. And nobody knows it's a suicide. What would you do with that pill today?
Get rid of it.
Quick, easy.
Done. I am not there. I have grown so much and learned so much. I would not be able to abandon my husband and my daughter and my family. And I am in no way even close to where I was when I was suicidal for all those years of being suicidal.
What else would you like to share, Adrienne?
That I'm incredibly honored that you've had me on your show. I feel like it is truly a privilege to be here, and thank you for allowing me this opportunity.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks for joining me.
I really support what you're doing, making a conversation that people can have.
All we need to do is find the people with the deep pockets and the big hearts to keep funding this bad boy, and I am good to go. Enjoy your summer, man.
Yeah, thank you. Likewise. I had a really good time.
Me too. Thank you, Adrienne. Have a decent day. I will talk to you soon.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
As always, thanks so much for listening and all of your support. Special thanks to Adriene in Texas. Thank you, Adriene. If you are a suicide attempt survivor or near attempt survivor and you'd like to talk, please reach out. hello@suicidenoted.com. You can also reach out to us on our socials and you can check out that content. I think it's pretty damn good. If you listen on Spotify, you can check out our weekly poll. And of course, on Apple, rating and or reviewing helps us out a lot. It helps people find the podcast. And of course, that is what we want. However you are involved, I really appreciate it. And that is all for this week's episode. Stay strong. Do the best you can. I will talk to you soon.